Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Olivia. How are you all doing? Couple weeks ago, I finished these pictures and I posted on my Instagram, and a lot of you have asked me how did I do the grass. And so in today's video, I would really love to show you how I did the grass. And if you're wondering where this page come from, this is from the Forest Skills coloring book by Apple. And for the grass, I'm gonna use watercolor, and any brand will do. You don't have to use expensive brand, but I will use the Winsor and Newton, and I will also use some Prisma colors as well. And these are all the color I will use for the grass. And I will also use gel pen. This is like a neon yellow gel pens or the yellow postcard, and you also need a white gel pens as well. The yellow postcard I use a smaller size than the normal size, and of course the white gel pens, which is a Unibrow Signal, my all-time favorite. And you also need some couple of water brush. I will use these just water pen brush, but you can also use a normal watercolor brush, so you will need like the medium and the small size. And the book I will do the demonstrations in is The Romantic Country by Airy, because this book is have really good examples of the grass. And this is another page that I do the same technique. I did this page when I was in the hospital. But I'm okay now, so you guys don't have to be worried. And these are two different the same technique, but because we use watercolor, so every time you do it, it's gonna be a little bit different, like gonna be a bit lighter than last time or a bit darker, but that's not really a problem. So as you can see, this book has so many of the area that she just draw a grass area, but it's very empty. And so I thought I will show you this technique, so it make look very, it look like you spend a lot of effort in it, but it's actually quite easy, and I'm sure you can do it even you are beginner as well. So let's get started. I will use a watercolor Winsor and Newton Cotman. This one is a student grade, but they are very good. I think they are a lot better than compared to just a normal $4 or $5 watercolor pen that you found in a crafting store. So I highly recommend them. They are, I think this one come in 45 colors. I don't remember how much I got them, but you can use other set as well, but you will need like spring grass colors and another darker grass colors, darker green color. I will show you how I mix color, because you need to mix some color. And you will need this is the watercolor paint. They come in the paint set, so it really dry, so you need to reactivate them with water first. So I like to use this little bottle of water that have the pump. You can use a Sprite bottle as well, but I feel like I don't really need to activate all the colors, so I just use this one and just drop just sway a drop of water onto whatever colors that you want to, and you don't have to reactivate all the colors. And we will need a green, a lamb green, sort of really bright green, and a medium green, and also a yellow. So if you use the same set as mine, I used a 599 the color, which is a 599, and I just put see, you activate the colors and you just take out the colors a little bit, and I will mix it a little bit with a yellow. This is quite like a light yellow. As you can see, you just mix a little bit of yellows in, and it make really nice green, and it sort of look like a spring green of in the Prismacolors. So that is what the color we're going for. We're gonna do like a gradient in the video. I'm not really sure should I swatch out the color for you, but I think I don't really need to swatch out. I just gonna colors in the picture itself and let you see. So that is what you do. You just mix a little bit of the lightest green colors and a little bit of yellows, and you can start doing your picture. And make sure you're gonna put a piece of paper underneath the page you're working on, just in case it bleed through. I haven't experienced any of the bleed through problem yet when I using watercolors, but just to make sure you don't want it bleed through to another page. And as maybe me, I just forgot to press the camera when I colors, but it's okay. It still have half of the grass area for you to see. So as you can see, I just use that green color that we just mixed up, and I just put down a flat wash onto this paper. It's very light. For watercolor, I like to build up, which is like normal. For watercolor, you have to kind of layering them because they are translucent color. And make sure you don't use too much water, and between layer really important that you need to let it dry. I wouldn't say completely, but let it dry 90%, and then you can go back. So now let's see that I just done with the light color. Is very easy. Now I going back in with the 599 again. We use this color quite a bit, and every time I use it, if it dry, I just reactivate it with water a little bit. So it's really easy to use. And this time I don't mix anything, and I put less water, so I have a more darker tone, and so I just use it to darken up the grass a little bit. And as you can see, I just go in and just darken up the grass. It's quite easy. I use a medium brush size. I think this brush is a Pentel watercolor brush. I will make sure I link down everything I use for this page in the description box. I always leave the information of where you can buy them or what the product I use and what book I coloring in the description box, along with my Instagram, and how you can support me. So if you just check the description box first, and if it's anything that I haven't listed and you was wondering, then you feel free to ask me, leave a comment, and then I will answer your questions. And as you can see, I just go in and I'll just darken up the bottom of the grass area, and make sure you don't rub the brush too hard. Make sure you quite light with your brush, and then I go in with a darker green. And this green, I'm pretty sure is with a 314, and this green is quite dark green. And as you can see, I add a lot of water because I don't want it to go too dark at the start. It's easier to build up and fix your color when it's light than when it's too dark. It's quite hard to fix because the water color with watercolor, I know how to fix it when you make a mistake, but because of the paper we use, it's not for watercolor, so it's really hard to fix. So as you can see, I just add a little bit of yellow add a lot of yellow and a little bit of dark green that we just use, which is activate, which is a 314. This one is quite dark green. If you look in your Prismacolors, I think is a really close to a Prussian green or a spring green. Oh no, a grass green. And as you can see, it look really light still, but don't worry, these are all like just a base color, so you don't have to worry too much about it's not being dark enough. And you just want to put out the layer. I have a problem with romantic country books. I don't think the first book is have many problem, but the second book, for some reason, the paper is not. They don't have a lot of tooth, so this is a really good way when you have to deal with a paper or a coloring book that the paper is quite smooth. You can go in a light wash with watercolor or acrylic, very light wash, and it give you a lot of tooth for your pencil to go on. And I think it's a really good way to improve your paper. Just make sure your paper is quite thick, and just test out to see, make sure it's not glittery. And now I switch to a mini brush. Now what is that called? The smallest size of the watercolor brush. And I think in the Pentel set, this brush is the smallest size. They have the large, the medium, and the small size. And now we're gonna go in the lightest green that we mixed up earlier. When we mix the light green with the yellow, and as you can see now, I start to go in doing the grass, and it's really simple. You just flick, just like how grass work, they just a little leaves thing just grow everywhere. So I just use this brush, and very light handed I go down and I flick up, and that is all you need to do. We will start with the light color first, and don't worry if you cannot mix this exactly the same colors that I am. All you need to do is a light green, a medium green, and a dark green, and any tone green will do, but try to make it kind of like a spring colors, or so it look a little bit more lively and more alive than due to, let's say you're gonna make like a too brownish green, then it's look like your grass is dying. So just make sure you do quite light, and do more like a yellow tone green, so it look like your grass is alive. And as you can see, I just go kind of like to follow a row. So I just divide it by eyes, like a few row, and then I just go one row at the top of all the grass, and then I do the second row underneath. Don't do the grass too, you don't do the flick too long flick, because the grass is usually quite short and we don't want it look too messy. So just keep your stroke short. Don't really need to flick all the part. As you can see, I just do like in the middle of the grass where it's quite light, and now I go in with the darker green. It's sort of like a medium green. If you use the same as mine, it is a 314 green, I'm pretty sure. And as you can see, I just flick. Doesn't need to be perfect. You just do a lot of flicking at the start, just to build up your grass. It just look more identical. It just doesn't look like a blob of green color. It's said to have shape, and which is create texture for your page. This is a grass texture, so you just do a lot of flicking. Make sure you go with this dark color, you go in between some of your lighter area that you already do the grass, and this give is more dimension looking. Is have more area that is darker, let's have some area that is bright, because if you take care of the grass at your home is if you have fake grass, then obviously is all the color is the same. But if you have just natural grass, or if you look at the grass field, they don't have the same color. There is a darker shade of grass area, but there is also lighter shade, because where the sun shine them, if they have more sun, then there is more yellow and more bright, and if they're in the shadow, then there is a more dark. So when you do this, it just give more of the dimensions for your pictures, and it look really nice, and it doesn't look too flat. So just trust me, whenever you do a piece, it's always gonna look a mess in the middle of the process. So don't give up, and just push yourself and do it till the end, and you're much happier. And now, as you can see, I'm gonna mix some of the brown color to your green, but the brown that I choose is quite of a more like a yellow tone brown, and I try not to mix a blue tone brown, because when you mix blue tone, it is look quite gloomy, and I want to keep the grass is quite nice and spring vibe. So just keep that in mind when you do. And as you can see, I just gonna add a little bit of brown. This is a brown that we have. It look quite dark, but don't worry, I just squeeze a little bit of water in, and I mix in a little bit of green, and see, and now it's look more like a I would say more like an olive green, and we're gonna do this to create shadow for our pictures, and for our grass. As you can see, I add just make sure if you are left-handed, then you go from the right side, and if you are right-handed, then go from the left, because then that way it will prevent you from your hand accidentally touching the grass area that is not dry yet and it's still wet, and you're probably gonna smudge it everywhere. So just be a little bit be careful. As you can see, I just flick. I do dark color a lot down at the bottom, because that is where the sun. This is a hill of grass, so down the bottom it probably less of the sun hitting it, so it's gonna be a lot of shadow and a lot of darker color grass. So that is where I try to adding more of the darker shadow, and especially underneath the objects, like this is like underneath the chair and around the basket of clothes, the clothes basket I think. And as you can see is I just add in a few like that, and then we are pretty much done with the watercolor. Now I'm gonna go in with a medium brush size again, and I just add more yellow a lot of yellow into the green, the lightest mix of green, and you just very gently brush use that color to brush it over all your grass. Because why? Because when we create the texture, it look quite rough and it doesn't look like it belongs to the page. So when you do this, it blend all the color nicely, but you have to do it quite light handed, because you don't want to smudge. Here I do a little bit of example for you to see. Like, see if I go a little bit too heavy hand, it will much your the grass texture that you already created. So you want to avoid that, and you want to keep the grass texture but make it more blending into the page. That's what you're aiming for. So because I use watercolor for a while now, so I pretty know how the watercolor work. But if you just started, make sure you do in a smaller page or in a graph page so you don't ruin your picture. And I will go in with the Prismacolor, and the Prismacolor we use to just enhance the page, add more detail, because with the pencil it's a lot more easier to control. And I will go in first with the Prussian green of the Prismacolor 109, and you can use a polychromo as well, but the reason why I didn't use polychromo is I feel like the Prismacolor they go nicer on top of the watercolor than the polychromo, so that's why I use a Prismacolor. But you can use polychromo. I tried polychromo before and it's done pretty good job as well. And as you can see, I don't really try to color the page in at all, but I just try to go in the stroke motion, and I just color I just use this color to add in shadow, and I go around the tree, underneath the tree area a lot, and around the puppies, the dog body, and around the basket and around the chair. And now I go in with the spring green, which is quite light, and you can see I just adding this color on top. The reason why I use the pencil is because I want it to give a more smoother finish, because when we're adding watercolor it's a lot of texture, and sometimes it doesn't look quite nice. But when you add in the pencil, is help you to enhance the effect more. You can see that area when around the tree is already look a lot better than anywhere else. And now I going with the espresso color is a brown color, but I like to go in really light. You make sure you very light hand with this color, just to add in some shadow, just darker, to enhance the effect. I want you to remember that when you're coloring, just make sure if you want to bring your coloring page to the next level, then you have to pay attention to where you add the shadow and where you add the highlight, because when you pay attention to those, your picture will have more clearer looking, and it's just look more lively. And now I go in with the lamp hue, which is really similar to the green color that I at the start. So this color is not you don't have to use the same colors that I am. I just try to pick the color very similar to the grass, to the watercolor that I use, so there's those color much together and they don't too different. But if you do another different grass color, so just make sure you use another tones of green, And now I go in with the apple green, and you can see I don't really color it in. I just do some flick motion and try to make the color is more evenly distributed. Now I go back in the espresso. That is all you need to do now. You just have to go back and forth with these colors and just try to make your picture is more beautiful and more nicer looking. And as you can see, I add a lot under the basket and around the puppy and around the chair, is because I just want to bring those value up a little bit more and make it more clear. In that way I can, when you look at the picture, you just doesn't see it's just green color, and it's actually this object is not floating on the top and then actually sitting on top inside of the grass. it's like they're sitting on top of the grass and the grass is growing over them. So just make sure when you flick the grass, just flick on top, like over the object was drawing on top a little bit. Just draw over it a little bit so it just look more nicer. And as you can see, is nearly done, and I'm pretty happy with how it turns out. Just make sure you just try to add. I don't really like go in with very hard brushes at all. So make sure you go in quite light brushes. You don't need to press the pencil because you already have the base of the colors. And I also add a shadow for the tree as well. Just a little tip on adding shadow. As you can see, I didn't do the shadow like really straight, and I do it quite on the sides a little bit. It's because I want the sun shine from the left side. So now we're gonna use a gel pen. You can use either neon yellow gel pen, or you can use a yellow Posca. You can see I went, depends on what effect you want to do. This is how the neon yellow gel pens work. I found that a glittery gel pen is gonna be not showing very well. The neon yellow gel pen is really good, but this time I use the Posca for you because the Posca show on the camera is a little bit better. And just make sure you use a small size so it's easier to control. And I just drawing in a few of, it look like a just a wild grass or flowers. I don't really know, but we have a few of these in my area, and I don't really know what they are, but they kind of like a yellowish colors. And as you can see, it's really easy. You just draw a little stem and then you just adding a few like a teardrop, small teardrop on the sides, on both sides, and you just have the grass. The really important thing is you don't really need to do really detail with this grass. Just really loose hand and go in quite loose hand. You don't really need to spend like 30 minutes to just draw this. Just sometimes you see I just dot around, and when you do this, it look more looser, and it look just more it look like it's alive, and it doesn't look too detailed. You don't want it too detailed for the grass. And I think for the grass, a yellow is the best choice of to adding more in the your grass, you make it look more fun, is because the yellow is very go well with the green, and it just make your grass look really happy. It's a happy colors, and I just think it's absolutely beautiful. There's a few of you have asked me where I get inspirations for these kind of backgrounds and grass. I don't get inspirations. I think not from other people, I guess, but from natures. Like I like to take pictures, and every time I look at the pictures, real colors, and I just really like it. And, I just happy that I can reproduce it in my coloring page or my own artwork. And the watercolor technique, I has developed this technique ages ago when I do my own art, and it's not something very amazing or anything, but I think is I kind of tweaked it a little bit so it's easier for you to reproduce in the coloring book, because coloring paper is not the same with the watercolor. And now I go in with the white gel pen, and as you can see, you just do a few very short flick. It's like adding a little bit more texture. I just like doing this because it just look like the sun hitting the grass, and some area is look like maybe it's just after it's rain or something like that. And it looks shiny, and as you can see, it look very dark at the front, but at the back there is absolutely nothing bleed through. So it is a win-win. You get really quick background to finish. And I hope you enjoyed this video with me. If you like this video, please thumbs up, like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video very soon. In the meantime, take care and happy coloring. Bye.